timer stop? I'm like paying attention. All right, we're done. All right. Hello. Just doing a quick sound check, making sure all good. I have my assistant checking in on me. Halifax County, Waverly, Virginia. Hi, I am Monica Starkweather. I teach ESL in New Kent County. New Kent is, if you've been to Virginia Beach or Outer Banks, New Kent is on 64, like right in between Richmond and Williamsburg. Kind of a little known part of the county. I have been teaching for 16 years. My background has been in elementary, but I was at an at-risk school, so I had lots of experience just with little things here and there. So I am presenting um, as a partnership with Unison EDU. If you're interested in finding out more about this organization or even wanting to join the team, the website is here. Our mission is, helping everyone be able to access professional development, getting the tools that they need to support your education. And I think right now that has kind of been like we've all been thrown into this virtual learning and like, what do we do? Help. So part of Unison EDU's mission is to really form that collaboration and networking and helping all educators across all grade levels be able to access that learning and professional development. Um, we're also very blessed to have so many talented ITRTs and a partnership with VISTE, the Virginia Society for Technology and Education. Make sure that you check them out. Their conference is going on right now. Lots of great ideas and tips. I know we're kind of winding down into winter break, but we're going to be ready to go back strong in January. So definitely some things to take note of today too. And of course, Unison, another plug, sorry. Awesome webinars already up there on our website. And then all of this today will be available in our Facebook group. So look for us on Facebook. We're kind of just starting to grow that now. A few blog posts are already up there. So at the end of the webinar, we'll also post the resources from today there. So you'll be able to get it in Unison EDU's Facebook group. Of course, there's Twitter. Right, so to kind of get into today, it's kind of a little bit of everything. I feel like that's kind of what I do, a little bit of everything. Even though I'm focused on English as a second language, I do K-12, so I have to stretch like Gumby. If anybody showing my age is familiar or remembers Gumby, I have to be very flexible in my skill set and what I have to do. We have had a number of newcomers to the county at the secondary level, so we've also had to be really creative with teaching the content at the same time we are delivering the academic English skills. So kind of learning a lot in a short period of time and kind of fly by the seat of my pants. So I did the welcome. Let me go back and just do this little fun kind of brain break, if you will. I found this last night on Twitter, and my elementary personality says, yay, ESL has lots of ways to bring out the language and compare and contrast, even just text lingo. And I didn't really think about ever doing this before as a brain break, but having students try and guess what is being said by the emojis. So if we do this first one here in the top left, upper left corner, you have the baby and the snowflake, and some more snow. And in this picture, any guesses what the Christmas song is? Give you some wait time, and then we'll reveal the magic wands or the magnifying glass. Yeah. Any guesses? You can post it in the chat.
Don't forget to post it in the chat.
Some of these, I did not know. But then also researching for me. I'll give you another minute. Hello from Batatat. Did I say that right, Teresa? Loudon. Ooh, Loudon has a big
Baby, it's cold outside.
Baby, it's cold outside. Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah, we've got agreement there. So let me go here. And without revealing any others. Oh, don't need that. Baby, it's cold outside. Ding, 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 ding. And for your prize, you win more tips and tricks. Compliments of Unison EDU. All right, moving on. We'll come back to this. Okay, first, I'm going to talk about Google Keep. Some of you are possibly like, okay, yeah, I already know about Google Keep. It's like a sticky note thing, maybe. I have probably mostly used it in English class. Personal life is a to-do list, but in English class, and this is an example here from this year, my student had to research about the career that he wanted. So we used Google Keep as kind of the index cards. Again, dating myself from back in the day. And so he needed 3 sources. So we set up 3 different Google Keeps, and then put a picture from each one within that so he could kind of organize it. We saved the link, and then he just copied and pasted the information that he wanted to keep. So then you can have collaborators. That's what this one over here is showing. So that he and I could both see it at the same time, and then when we were ready, we could share what he had done with Works Cited with the Gen Ed teacher. Another way that I've used Google features with virtual learning, you can set up a note to start out as a drawing. So you can have a square grid to enable a like math question. Then there's dots. The first thing that came to my mind was just the game that I played as a kid, where you would take turns making dots and then drawing the lines, or the geo boards. There's of course notebook paper. So just examples of how I've used it this week. This first one here is the Google Keep that I started with a student. And it's of course taking forever to load. So this is what the student view would be. It gets much larger with the grids, but helping the student kind of grasp the vertical alignment of place value and the area model of multiplication. So we just kind of did the process of 2-digit by 2-digit and breaking it up into expanded form, or doing tens times 1. And then down here, he would help me write the answers and then we added them up to get a response. Let's see, technical. So I guess I am happy that Pat is here. There we go. Go back on that. And then once this was done, when you go back, it saves it as a smaller, so then I could go in and had notes. And then when it was ready to print, when I was done, I could print it out for the student. Let's see. So this example here with the notebook paper, working with my newcomer student, helping just kind of see, visualize virtually handwriting and printing. We were just practicing writing letters, and the red, yellow, green was for the top, middle, and bottom, or the airplane, the sky, and the grass line for younger students. And he was just curious about cursiva handwriting, so that's what that was. 500, or you could say 500 for 500. And then again, this one was another one where once I was done with the drawing, I could back out and then have the notes ready to print. So before we move on to the next one, another Guess That Christmas song. Go back. All right, so we did Baby It's Cold Outside. How about the one right underneath of it with the heart and the diamond circle? Santa and Christmas tree. Post your guesses in the chat box. What is that Christmas song? I forget there's a July. Any guesses? What is that Christmas song? Let's get it in the right area. If you were thinking Blue Christmas, oh, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, I like that one too, but Blue Christmas was the correct answer on that. Back to our regularly scheduled program. More with Google Keep. Grabbing image text. I'm going to apologize in advance if there are any science fans. Biology is not my friend. I do not like biology. Especially with, I have a student from El Salvador. This is his second year in the country. He's taking biology right now. The virtual learning format, there's lots of Nearpods and slideshows, which is great, visuals, but for translating purposes, it's impossible. So I learned that through Google Keep, you can have the image and the image grab feature, grab image text. It will pop out the text from that slide and put it down in the Google Keep. So now that I have that, I can copy the text and then translate it much easily. Or I can copy it to Google Docs and then let the translate feature work, which is not always perfect, but still helpful. I can print out the notes for him to take home to study. Another example of, even with some background information, autotrophs and heterotrophs. It's still grabbing image text. Even with the bolded features, you would have to go back in and add that, but I liked how it kept some of the formatting still there. Like the title is still there, and then the bulleted items were there. So that's cool. Other things, check boxes. If you weren't familiar, you could do a to-do list. This has been helpful with students on their mobile devices, helping them with like the agenda, homework. How do you manage your Canvas workload or your Schoology workload? Let's pop it into a Google Keep. At first, it was shared so that I could see it too and kind of help them with what do you need to do. And then eventually they learned how to set it up once we had lots of practice. Because that kind of self motivation or that self checking piece, not all students have, and they need to be taught it. And especially with newcomers or even some students with organizational challenges with IEPs don't automatically have that built in. So we have to teach them. And so this was a great, like, okay, we don't have an agenda, writing it out on a calendar wasn't working. So just something to be aware of, to remember. All right, so before we get into the little Nearpod, let's go up here to the middle with the eyeballs, and this one was like one on there pretty quick. The Christmas song. Oh, hey, Virginia Beach. Let me back out of here. I'm going to take this thing off. Sorry, while I'm here. There we go. While I have a minute. All right. So, this one was, did anybody have, I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus? You are a winner. And as I said earlier, if you're just joining us, all of this will be available in the Unison EDU Facebook group. So if you haven't already joined, you'll want to do that, because I'll share the content from today in there. So you'll have access to some of the activities like this. This is in there. And then there's the blog post on how to set this up with the magic reveal if you aren't familiar on how that happened. All right. Back into heading over to Nearpod. Nearpod is not meant to be a create a PowerPoint and throw it in Nearpod. There's lots of interactive features, and even if you are that person that's just not quite comfortable with all the features of Nearpod and you're putting in PowerPoints and Google Slides from last year's or ones that you had already created, that's still okay. You got to start somewhere, but make sure students are using the note-taking feature. With any Nearpod, once you've set it up, students, when they open it, have the option to save notes, assuming they take notes. And virtually, it's hard to teach note-taking skills. But this would be a perfect opportunity to do so. They can have it sent via email. They can save it to Google Drive, or perhaps if you use OneNote, it can be done that way. When the session is over, this is a picture of the inbox. This is how the notification looks. Like, here are your notes, and then you can download them, save them to Google Drive, print them out. For me and my purposes with ESL, it was perfect to be able to do kind of real-time translating and helping the student understand, here's the English, but then here's the Spanish information about what's happening and what informational interviews are. And so kind of that dual purpose. You can also use it to explain in detail some information. And another feature of Nearpod, log in. You don't have to have a ready-to-go activity. They have the quick launch feature. So I have an example of that. You don't have to have a lesson already. You can have students, even on their phones, devices, go to join.nearpod.com if they have the app on their school devices, they can just go to the app, and then they just enter the code, kind of like quizzes, GimKit, etc. As long as they have a code, they can access the information. So with this one, I just set up a quick, kind of like a pin board, bulletin board, um, implementation ideas, just reflecting on anything that you've seen or heard up to this point that appeal to you. And of course, you can throw in your own picture and then change how it looks. So that's what this is here. If you actually go to joy.nearpod.com, or if you have the app and open it and then enter in the code, it will bring you to this little board that I started. And you can escape it. Like I had already set it up. You can just leave it. The code stays the same. So this is one that I was playing around with and posted last night. What ideas do you have? Well, at the time when I was doing it, I was thinking of coffee. So that's what that is. So all of you have access. You just have to join with the code. Students can find a drawing to reflect their thoughts. They can type it. It doesn't have to be always a written response. They can do a picture representation of what they're thinking or what their reflection is. And of course, when you're done, you can share it with the students. You can share it, if you have a class social media account, email, however you want to do that. You can sort it by students. And you can either show students' names, or I like to hide students' names so that then there's that kind of anonymous aspect to it. Probably by this time of the year, we're comfortable enough with each other that showing the names isn't a problem. But so there's that. Another aspect of Nearpod that I really like. Oh, and this one, even with the quick launch, you can set up notes for whatever activity you do. Like if you want the quick draw, if you want students to draw the mitosis, I don't know, you can still then share it with them later after the fact. So I thought that was cool. With digital citizenship and literacy, there are already lessons that are created about common sense education. So I thought, especially right now with the VISTI going on, that even in Spanish, there's no excuse not to have digital citizenship, mouthful, and literacy in the classroom. And keyboarding. Teachers sometimes would mention, even before virtual learning, the lack of knowledge that students possess with just keyboarding skills. So that's there already set up for you. You just have to give the students access to it. And they have tons more with, as you can see, these are grades 3 through 5, but they also have 6 to 8, and then high school 9, 12. Keyboarding covers everything. Definitely a skill that I remember sitting in keyboarding class, and we had the A, that rote repetition thing that we don't always see, but kids definitely need. So even just sharing with parents, that resource is there. Grading in Nearpod. One thing I've tried to communicate with the teachers that I collaborate with in the gen ed classroom. When you set up the different activities in Nearpod, whether it's a drag and drop or short answer, in this case it was contents of the dead man's pocket, which was English 10, drawing a blank. But the students each get a report that looks like this. And then it breaks down what their answers were, right or wrong. It also compares them with the overall class. So this particular student was my year 1 ESL student. And we were doing content of a dead man's pocket with her. So 40% was actually rather impressive that she was able to get that, because it was all in English with some modification and some translation. But then even the overall class's comparison, how they did with 81%. And this was just an introductory. They watched a TED Talk that was built in to the Nearpod, and then had some questions to answer after the Nearpod, and then, after the TED Talk, and then after reading the short story. Haven't played with this yet this year, but sub-plans, especially for virtual learning. I know we talked about that a few times. If we're absent, how is that handled? Do you split the kids amongst the teachers that are still virtual? Are there substitutes? How's that handled? But Nearpod has subplans already created. You just go to Nearpod. So I'm going to back out in here. Yes, thank you. I would like to come back to it. Subplans. But a quick little video that explains it. Let's fast forward some. You basically create, when might I have this? Well, if I have an emergency doctor's appointment, a kid is sick, or whatever the case may be. You pick your own lessons, or you go through the library and pick the lessons that they have, and then you send it to the administrators or your teammates. But you're also, of course, wanting to go through and check the lessons in advance. Don't say, "Oh, this is an awesome, lesson on evolution. I'm just gonna zip that right to my collab teacher without looking at it." No, don't do that. But I still felt like it was a potentially sound resource for those last minute substitute needs. Nearpod and vocabulary are like one now, so there's also the vocabulary lessons in there if you aren't familiar. But they have, even for the upper grades, they don't always like the raps or the tunes, but you'll catch them singing. Alright, so that was all with Nearpod. So let's see. Pick a song. Let's go down here to the reindeer and man, person, boy. It's hard not to say exactly what it is. Keep looking at it. Any guesses in the chat? What is this Christmas song? So this activity could turn into, a quick review, or doesn't have to be strictly fun. You could make it educational, review activity. I guess it's not yet. Not yet. Don't be shy. Now, see, if I was really good, I would have them pulled up ready to play. But, sorry. Oh, the one above it's Oh Holy Night. Come on. Are any of you yelling at me like through the screen? Do this, click that. Run, Rudolph, run. That's the answer to that one. In case you didn't have that. Run, Rudolph, run. Oops, hey. Oh, yeah. Real life, right? Real life problems. Alright, so that was Nearpod. The last two are Google extensions. You may have already noticed custom cursor. You may or may not be familiar with it. I noticed with the virtual teaching that the the regular cursor just wasn't drawing the attention, or do you see my mouse or cursor, which is a vocabulary problem for some students. They didn't know what a cursor was. Do you see my Santa hat? So you can follow along with me where we are on the screen and where to click. And so this one just showed you can set the cursors to change. There's the pointer, and then there's the actual cursor. This was little GIF is just showing you can make it festive. I added my Bitmoji to it. I forgot to flip the one that points so that when you're actually pointing to something, it was pointing. So I had to change that and had time to go back and fix it. But for like elementary, it's cool. We like to, every once in a while, I'll let them pick and change it up. The Grinch is on there now. We did Shrek for a little while. But you can just pick colors. I know that Windows and I think Apple have their already own preset where there's the highlighter or the red dot, which is fine too, but just kind of adding that extra engagement piece. It recommends how you can set up your own cursors. You can use pictures, but then it tells you to make sure that they're not more than 128 by 128 pixels. And there's also the remove backgrounds if you haven't found that. And then the link will be in there to the extension. Mine's already added. And of course, it walks you through. I've suggested to some teachers, it might help if you had a custom cursor to help students follow along, or so that they know where you are on the screen. That's just a really quick, simple hack, if you will, extension. I'm not going to do the magnifying glass anymore, but which one? This one here. The 3 ships, I think it was. I forgot the name now. I had no idea what this one was. Well, let's just move the whole board. I saw 3 ships. Had no idea what that one was when I was playing with this earlier. So I will be Googling to figure out what in the world I'm on. Moving right along. Just checking to see. Oh, thank you. My moderator in the background. Popping in links for you. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Oh, I saw 3 ships come sailing in. Thank you. I still don't know it though. I'm sure once I hear it, I will. But anyway, I digress. Natural Reader is probably more for SPED and ESL, but I've also found it's just nice for students to listen to someone else for a change. So Natural Reader is another extension that's free. What I liked about this one was it will open documents, and it also kind of accommodated for students that have dyslexia. But if you're not using the web-based version, they do have the extension version. This is my extension here, so that once you click on it, it loads. And my person is currently set to Google Spanish, but you can change. We were doing Japanese I have a student that speaks Spanish as a first language, but has learned Japanese, Portuguese, and currently working on English. So, just to keep things original and exciting, we did Japanese for a little bit. Of course, I was lost, but he was engaged in learning. With Nearpod, this was another opportunity we could highlight the text and then have the natural reader read it to him. So it was great for studying. You don't always have to take the notes and read the notes. You know, you can use natural reader and listen to the notes on the bus on the way home, or um, following along with the audio was helpful. We did Frosty the Snowman yesterday, just in a Google Doc, and had the natural reader slow down. That's one of the features. You can slow the speed down so that it's either fast, like I'm very self aware that I get excited and passionate about something and I talk really fast. So practicing even just listening to someone talk fast. But in this case, it was slowing down so that we could really pay attention to the words, to the lyrics. When you use the extension, one thing I don't like about it, I wish they would change, when you highlight the text that you want to hear or that you want to play, the icon is super small. So it's always, for me, it's hard to find. I don't know. For students, it might not be an issue, but and I haven't really done much with the OCR or saving the files. So something worth checking out. Let's see. So, yep, done all that. We're going to skip looking to another one of those. And then just bonus. Some extra pieces of information or just tidbits. Don't like the word hoarder, but I tend to be an over collector of strategies and ideas, and I like to keep things relevant. And my brain just went blank after a long day of teaching. But I like to change things up or add things that students may not have seen before. Don't like to be stuck in a rut and keep things the same year after year after year. So these are different sentence frames, which are even helpful for native speakers, and that's linked as well. It helps students with that lessened cognitive load of how to start. They might know the answer, or they might have the content, but the actual framing the idea or how to ask for clarification isn't really there. So this was helpful. Kagan's strategies, if you are familiar with different grouping collaboration strategies, this is just an example of one that's been modified and super simplistically for virtual learning. I won't read you the directions, but again, this will be linked in the Unison EDU Facebook group. Numbered heads together, templates there. You can split it up to as many students as you want. Give them the topic and the directions. It goes through that here in the notes, but something that's simple that teachers may not have had the time to create or hadn't thought to create. How do I do those grouping pieces when we're all in 22 different locations, for example? So that's there. Then there's two different versions. 'Tis the season. Making sure that we are culturally relevant. In talking about the different Christmas songs, we would make sure that we would go over like Noche Buena or Cumbia, different songs that other populations would listen to, and not just what we do in America, making it a sharing activity. So this has the different Christmas activities around the world. There's the primary version and there's the intermediate version as well. And then just the curriculum corner is an awesome resource for K-12. So if you're not familiar with them, hopefully this is, if anything, something that you can take away from today. Just another resource of things that are already made and that you aren't having to create the wheel. Or if a teacher asks for something and you're like, you don't have anything, you can go here and maybe find it. I subscribe so that it comes weekly, I think. I feel like weekly. Possibly more right now, just because there's so much. Again, intermediate version. This is going to take us back to the Christmas. I think that was it, wasn't it? One more thing. Any questions before I wrap it up? Anything that you didn't understand or wanted to see more of? Let me know. I feel like that was really fast, but I think that's sometimes how we all feel on the presenter end of things. If, of course, you do not already subscribe, Unison EDU has a blog, so be sure to check that out. Just doing a plug for the great work that Dr. Jessica Costa is doing right now for us, the English language specialist. And there's the ability to subscribe to those updates. She does monthly, but I think sometimes she'll do mid-month updates. And then Virginia is for Learners. The Ed Equity site has multilingual learners. But there's also equity during COVID, and they have webinars as well, and things for family engagement. Kind of runs the gamut of resources, not just ESL. And you can subscribe. There's a newsletter for them too. So if there's any questions, for those of us without Facebook, yeah, Mary, we can get that out to you. I will. You can share the link if you want to share your email. Some of us do not have Facebook. I'll put it on Twitter as well. Just wanted to double check some copyrights on some things before I share it out. Any other questions? Yep. Thank you, Pat. See, I said I didn't need you, and that was a lie. No worries. Right. Well, if there's no other questions, thanks so much for taking time out of your crazy, for lack of a better word, right now day. Hopefully some of it's been helpful. If you are on Twitter, at Monstar_81, ESL Starkey is kind of what I go there by. Facebook. And thanks for joining us.